Welcome to today's webinar on digital sales rooms. My name is Eli Cohen, and I'm the CEO of SalesHood. We're a revenue enablement platform guiding sellers on what to do and what to share by hyper-personalizing the customer journey with AI. Now, we're really excited to have our friends at FrontLine Education here with us today to talk about how they're embracing and leveraging digital sales rooms to align sales and marketing, to delight their clients and win more business. It's amazing. We have a great webinar ahead. Looking forward to walking you through it. Now let's meet the team at FrontLine.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Tracy Hine. I'm the Sales Enablement Manager at FrontLine Education. Happy to be here with all of you today to talk about client sites.
Amazing. Thank you, Tracy. And Caxi, go next.
Hey everyone, my name is Caxi Matlock. I am the Sales Enablement Specialist, but I started at FrontLine as a sales representative, so I've seen it from both sides. Happy to be here talking about client sites. I love it.
Boom. I love it. And congratulations. Welcome to the world of enablement. It's so incredible when we see successful sales practitioners, successful sales executives make the transition. Boom, boom, kudos. And amazing. And then we've got Nichelle here as well. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Nichelle Smith. I am the Senior Manager of Solution and Product Marketing here at FrontLine Education. I've been in the education industry for about 15 years and 6 of those years as a product marketer here at FrontLine.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And then another person from FrontLine, we've got Charles. Charles, please introduce yourself too.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Charles Solis. I'm an Education Solutions Executive here with FrontLine. I've been with the company since 2018, and I cover 4 states here on the East Coast as my territory.
So we're going to have a real conversation. We've got sales, we got marketing, we got enablement, and we got a salesperson who's now shifted to enablement, and we got Nate. Nate, please introduce yourself too.
Yeah, great to be on the webinar. Thanks everybody for coming. So Nate Carmody here. I'm on the sales team at SalesHood, and I love client sites. I work closely with Tracy and Nichelle, and I'm really excited to hear what their team is doing. So thanks everybody for coming today.
Let me walk through the flow today. We're going to talk about kind of FrontLine. We're going to learn about their business a little bit. Tracy's going to walk us through, some of the benefits that they've realized from leaning into client sites and digital sales rooms, and just a level set, right? The industry calls digital sales rooms. We call it client sites because it kind of covers the entire customer journey, but digital sales rooms is how sales and marketing teams can share content with prospects across the entire customer journey. So we're going to learn all about that today. So Tracy's going to walk us through kind of some of the benefits that the organization has experienced. And then we're going to hear from marketing. We're going to hear, why does Nichelle and the marketing team why do they love this as well? Which is great, right? We've always talked about the harmony between sales and marketing. And now with digital sales rooms and client sites, it clearly is there. And then I love it. Then we're going to hear from some salespeople. We're going to hear Caxi's going to walk us through how she has used client sites with her customers to deliver success, to close business, which is incredible. And then Charles is also going to share some of his best practices. So we've got an enablement leader walking through the why, marketing talking through some of the benefits from a marketing point of view. We've got a salesperson who's now become an enablement person, kind of singing and talking about it and singing. I can't believe I'm already, thinking about music still. And then we got Charles who's going to dig in and really kind of talk about some of his benefits. And then listen, you got to see it to believe it. And we've invited Nate here who's going to walk us through and do a demo. And then we're going to close it up in the end with some implementation best practices and tips. And that's how this is going to flow. How does that sound, everyone? Boom. I love it. So let's start with Tracy. So Tracy, I think it would be great for everyone to just get a feel for FrontLine Education. What does FrontLine Education do? And let's start there. And then you can kind of start talking about how client sites has helped your business.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Eli. So FrontLine Education is a software provider that serves K-12 schools throughout the United States, from human resources to business operations, student health, and special education management. Our goal is to really help the administrators and the staff in their day-to-day be more efficient and take less time doing those day-to-day tasks so they can spend more time and focus on their students. We have 25 years serving the K-12 space, and that is our sole focus, supporting that K-12 community and their unique needs.
Amazing. Thank you for doing that. I think K through 12, the future. These are our future people. We appreciate everything that Frontline does for all of our future thinkers and minds in the world. And so I'm curious, how does Frontline education, selling to K through 12, how does Frontline education use something like client sites?
Yeah, so I thought like three areas where like we've seen value in them and working with our customers. So first, I would say better customer experience. Like I mentioned, we're serving those administrators and staff in schools. Their time is very valuable. They want to be spending it with students and not digging through emails, looking for something that someone sent them, trying to track down an attachment that they might have lost, a link in an email. So having the client sites and having that one consistent location where they can go to find resources that the sales team has shared with them has created a better experience. And then the sales team's been able to really hyper personalize that experience, right? Share the right information at the right time. We don't want to overwhelm them, meet them where they are in their buying journey. And we've seen some really creative ideas come through from the sales team to really make those sites personalized and custom to the districts that they're supporting. So that's one area that we're seeing that overall benefits for.
Yeah, let's dive into some of the benefits. So like what are some of the benefits you've experienced in the last 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so for our sellers, it's definitely helped improve efficiency and productivity. So again, not digging through emails to see, did I send this to this person? Did I not? Looking for, was that attachment there? Did it get through to them? Having that consistent space and supporting the whole buyer journey and what they need at the right time has helped the team, making it easier to find the right content at the right time. So the guided selling and Salesforce has helped with that, especially with new sellers. That can be really helpful. And then also I'd say in addition to client sites, having just the overall platform and being able to connect learning as well in the platform and being able to provide that one-stop shop for our team where they have everything, training, enablement, client-facing content in one spot, in one centralized location. So again, they're not going to this site for one thing, this site for another, and then trying to bring it all together on their own. It's all in that one spot for them.
Perfect. That's great. So really makes it easier for you as an enablement practitioner, as an enablement leader to enable your teams because you've got one system for learning, for selling, for coaching, for training, for content, and then your teams are able to find what they need and share it with their prospects, with their buyers. It's incredible. Nice. Kudos. And what's great is we've got marketing on the phone with us too, right? And so Nichelle, why don't you talk to us from your perspective, right? How have you seen this being used and how's it helped the marketing team?
Yeah, it's such a good question too. When I think about, if I start at what I think about client sites, what I maybe thought about that at the beginning, I think the goal that Tracy and I had when we were first implementing the system, like arm in arm with Sales Hoods folks, is really, really want to get the right content, the right messaging and positioning in the right place for our sellers to go then be effective and have meaningful conversations with our clients. The main goal really being, yes, support our sellers, and through that, give our clients an amazing experience with our brand. So if I take a step back from that and talk a little bit about maybe the journey from what it looked like to how we leverage client sites today, is we were using another technology for a while. On the marketing side, the goal was to just get content organized and easy to find. And that while it's super important, when we really pivoted our goal to being true sales enablement to provide an excellent customer experience, content repository wasn't cutting it. So we evaluated multiple organizations and teams, and we ultimately landed with Sales Hood and building out the client sites because we saw this as just the straightest line between getting content organized in the hands of our sellers so that they can go make an impact. So in client sites, we've organized our content in a number of different ways to slice and dice it so our sellers can engage with that, have a really thoughtful, strong starting point for how they want to articulate how our organization can support school districts, and then do that at scale without losing the ability to be creative and flexible and meaningful and timely. So they take that starting point in the client sites, they personalize it, they customize it, make it hyper relevant to their target audience. And this is great for us and our audience. Because like Tracy said, people aren't digging around for emails and flyers and videos. They just have this place where Frontline and a school district are coming together to solve real problems and make real strides in education for K-12. So that's another one, super important to us. And then the last area I'd say is like maybe falls under the category of reporting and visibility. So client sites, building out our content in this way, building out our sales enablement in this way, gives marketing unparalleled insights into what messages are working, what content is working, what are people just leveraging the heck out of, so that I can then go and like, oh, let's lean on that. Let's pour more energy and resources into that because it's working. So I'll wrap a bow on it all by saying, Saleshood gives marketing the ability to give sales a really thoughtful, great starting point to then go forth and prosper. And then client sites give marketing the reporting in Saleshood necessary to be proactive and give us a starting point to where we can lean in and make a better impact and make it easier, better, warmer, stronger for our sellers to go be successful in supporting our clients.
Wow, there was a lot there. That was a pretty amazing, it's a lot there. A few things stand out for me. I want to just kind of double click on a couple of them. You said, client sites creates a space where Frontline and the school districts can collaborate. Mm-hmm. That is so interesting. And I guess we'll hear from Kaxi and Charles how they do that. I think maybe can you just talk a little bit more about that? Like I love that. And it just feels like such a great way to work with customers.
Absolutely. I think, as you alluded to, Charles and Kaxi have a lot more practitioner view, like out in the trenches, out in the field, like really working through it. From a marketing perspective, I'll say it's really exciting to know that we can have a space where that's interactive, that's collaborative, where we can make sure that I've spoken to the starting point, and then like let's just suspend reality and pretend I have one that has a video, that has an intro blurb, that has a flyer, a video, and a case study, like all in one place. Then as the conversation evolves between sales and our amazing clients, they can then go add another piece, go add another bit that they've talked about that is unique to this conversation. So on the marketing side, can we build landing pages? Yes, absolutely. Of course. It's that hyper personalization to the conversation where I want to enable you and then get out of your way and let you go have the great conversation and access the content that's relevant to that conversation without you waiting on me to then go get a landing page updated. Now our sellers they're empowered to go out and support in this way.
Yeah. It's great detail. One more question before we kind of have you, Kaxi, talk about how you've been using client sites to sell. I love the partnership between enablement and marketing. I really, really love it a lot. Tell me, can you guys talk about that a little bit? How has Saleshood and client sites enabled the two teams to work more closely together?
I'll start, and then Tracy, if there's anything I miss about how much you love me, you can feel free to unmute and share more detail there. I think it's a core part of a solution marketing role to enable sales and make sure that we're supporting them in meaningful ways and, sending them out to be successful. Obviously, in Tracy's title, enablement, like that's a key for her too. And I think the depth of our partnership started when we identified at different times that there was opportunity for improvement, and kind of came together and said, like, I kind of think this isn't working. What do you think? And through that conversation and like really digging into, I didn't want to say anything, but I don't think it's working for me either. And then exploring all of the opportunities for improvement through those conversations. I saw in Tracy and our enablement team, we both had this deep commitment to not settling. Checking the box wasn't enough. Having a content repository wasn't enough. Just making the content and making it available wasn't enough. We really were deeply committed to getting to doing better together. And the only way we could do that and achieve that was together, to ensure that marketing's not just doing what's right for marketing, that we're doing what's right for our sellers, who are in turn doing what's right for our clients.
They deserve better.
They do.
They deserve better. Tracy, what would you add to the partnership?
Yeah, I would add, I had to spend so much time with Nichelle, evaluating. It was terrible. No, just the partnership was key, and the buy-in from both sides. We spent a lot of time with Nate, had a lot of fun looking at SalesHood and understanding what was possible, but really thinking about what was best for our sellers and would ultimately be best for our customers too, and making the experience easier for everyone to get to that like end result, and not just a system that's easy to be the administrator of. Like, we needed something that really on the front end was a differentiator for us, really.
No, that's great. That's great. One last question, and Caxi, then you're up. So you talked about the idea that you're going to create like a point of view. You're going to create these content points of view, these templates for your sellers, so they could go faster. Like, how hard was it for you to create these once you thought them up?
When I tell you, it was not hard at all. And the thought of creating something so impactful was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a mountain of work. How are we going to make this? How are we going to bring this to fruition in a timely manner to get our sellers out there making an impact in this way? It seemed like a beast. And working with SalesHood's team, they made it super, they illuminated for us that we could actually take all of the stuff we've already created and make the system work hard for us, as opposed to us working super hard to make the system work. So I think in the technology and in the training and the implementation, that is what made it so straightforward and easy for us to leverage really, really fabulous, high effort, high impact content that we already had at our fingertips.
No, that's great. I want to just thank you too. It's pretty amazing, right? Digital sales rooms are taking off, and I just want to commend FrontLine and both of you so far, because you've leaned into this concept of client sites and the digital kind of customer journey to really serve your districts. And but this doesn't happen, right? We can have these great ideas, as you both know. We can come up with the templates, we can come up with the content, but if we don't have salespeople that grab it and then apply it to how they sell, that it never happens. And so, Caxi, walk us through kind of how did you, how are you using, how did you use client sites? Let me rephrase the question, because how did you use it to sell, and how did it make you better?
Yeah. And I agree. It's like, if you don't take in and actually start to put this into practice, it's just some idea, right? It's a good idea to have. So I jumped in. I'm the type of person to jump in something and try it. And so after we had everything implemented and we were live with client sites, I started using it for every single opportunity. It was a goal that I had in my head, that I could use it for every opportunity that I had. I was in a territory with really large districts and really small districts. And so I had a big range of clientele, but it's scalable and it's buildable. And so I knew that I could utilize it and, honestly go through the trenches and learn it as I go. And it has that type of capability. So main reasons that I used it so heavily is because of that buildability and scalability. So with a client, we have our first meeting and I would build them a site. And it would be so simple. I'm talking one tab at the top, a few resources, just based on what conversations we had. And as we grew through that sales process, I would build more and more into the site. We'd talk about maybe a timeline or something dealing with pricing. We would build on and on and on. And as the complexity of the sale and the relationship grew with that client, the complexity of the site was also growing, but also so was my use of it as well as their use of it. And so we could build and learn and grow together. So that was one of the main core reasons of why I jumped right in. And it was easy to jump right in and start using it because there's such a buildability and a scalability, both with size of our clients, but also in use through the sales process. So that would be one. The other piece would be summaries. And so as you're using in these client sites, you're building out these resources. There's a need not only for us in the communication on a one-to-one with our prospect, but also remember our clients are taking these sites and they're sharing it internally as well. So there's a need to be able to skim the site or to know which resources within the site are really for them or for maybe a new team of people or a new department of people. And so I summarized every resource that I could within the client site. There's an AI component that's really, really nice, thank goodness. So I didn't have to write every single summary, but that made it very usable for our clients when they would take it maybe to a different department to be able to actually see what they were looking at and maybe decide that they don't need that resource or they don't need to look at that document. And so the use of summaries was really, really nice for me because it not only really succinct the information in the client side, but it made it more usable. The third reason that I was easy to jump in and really utilize it for every client was the insights. And so that insight tab that's in every single client site really helped me, and I think Michelle hit on this, to make it something that was live and adaptable and dynamic. It wasn't something that stayed stagnant. It wasn't something that I built and had these ideas of this is what our clients need. We could talk about what their needs were. I could see if something was being heavily utilized or not heavily utilized. To be honest, I would even pop them up into a meeting and I would open up our client site and we talk about the resources and documents that they would need in there. And so I could take things out or put things back in or add more information into it. So it made it this thing that was a ownership between me and our clients. And it just created this consistency, not only across my clients and my region, but a consistency across, I'm sure, all of our clients of how we communicated, how we talked to one another, and how we utilize the information.
Wow. Someone just commented and said, salespeople like Caxi make enabling people look good. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
What are some, like, the insights are so interesting. When we developed the client sites, we knew one of the reasons why we developed it is to provide, insights that you never would have. It's almost like you can know what your districts, what your customers, what your prospects are thinking. Talk to me about what have you learned about your customers through the insights? Do you have some examples you can share?
Yeah. So you learn about what's important to them. Because obviously I'm going to come in with my own preconceived notions of what I think they need and what they want. And you learn what's really matters to them. And it opens up a bigger channel of communication of the why that is important to them. It also helps you to see who it's important to. Because just because one department might need something and might need a source of information, another department might be interested in a completely different thing, especially depending on the size of client. So it allowed for that communication to really know and kind of almost to take my bias out of it, of this is what I think you need and this is what information I know is important to you, and to really look at what and ask the question, like, why does this matter? I would use it in meetings. I would actually open it up and say, hey, we have this and this and this. This was one of the older documents. Do we still need this? Like, is this even important? Is this something you don't want to do at all? And they'd be like, oh yeah, let's take that out. And so by the end of our sales process, the client site became this this tool. I mean, I can't think of a bigger word for tool, but it was this tool that was really not only just for me, but it almost became theirs. And it was something that they would then use to share with their leadership and to share with other departments, because we had spent this entire process really developing it and building it. And they could go back and look at meetings we had watched, or meetings we had done. We would record them and put them in there so they could see it. They go back and maybe look at an old conversation. We had collaboration plans in there so they could see a perfect timeline. It really became their document as much as mine. And those insights really let me know what was important to them and what was really needed. I had a quick story. I had someone tell me at the end, they're like, I'm going to miss this site, because it was something that was so succinct and total for them, and they utilize it so much internally. So I think that the insights is a huge piece of it. It's not just looking to see what's interesting and what's not. It's learning them as people, and not just based off of a number, but then taking that number into conversation, and we can have that discussion.
Beautiful. Wow. The ultimate in alignment. It's the ultimate in driving complete alignment across a distributed buying team. And I think it's so true, right? You're guiding them as they're making a purchase, and you're showing them information that they need. And kudos to you, Caxi. You're a rock star, right? You're sharing content, you're putting the summaries in there, you're taking things out, you're truly their guide, like you're their river guide, you're guiding them, kind of along the way. And then as more people come in, as we move from kind of pre-sale to post-sale, then folks can come in here and they can get up to speed faster. It's truly amazing. And so grateful that you have found it and that your team has empowered you with the right content so you can leverage it and use it. And thank you again for being here with us today, sharing your story, and congrats on your evolution to enablement. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Kudos. Wow. Yeah, no, amazing story. Really, really powerful. And we're fortunate to have another great salesperson here, Charles, who's going to share his story as well. So Charles, why don't you tell us, how are you using client sites, and why do you love it as well?
Well, to piggyback on something that Caxi said, just about consistency, right? I think whether we're in sales or in marketing, we're top of mind, we're always concerned about our brand. And whether that be as a company or as an individual, that consistency is really key. And I think one of the biggest values that I have found when it comes to using the tool, when it comes to communicating our brand and really driving engagement, for me, it's for customer events. That's just one of the use cases. I've been able to use SalesHoods and my client sites both before and after customer events. Now, these could be workshops. They could be client dinners that I host at conferences just to help promote the events. The SalesHood is very intuitive to pick up, and it really allows me just a way to think a little bit outside of the box, maybe in ways that other maybe competitors are not thinking of how to use it, to be creative with how I engage with my clients. So before my events, I develop a client site to promote, for example, a dinner or a workshop. And what this does, it allows me to kind of test the waters and see where the engagement is highest. I have a fairly big territory with the states that I cover. So in order to prioritize where it is that what school divisions do I need to spend my time with versus those that may not be ready for me to engage with them, I'm really able to pinpoint who those priority clients are so that I can give them what we have and help support them in the best way that we can. But what's unique about SalesHood, it also gives me a way to continue that engagement even after, for example, a user group or a workshop that I host. It is so easy to upload PDF worksheets, PowerPoint slides, or even workshop video clips of the actual event itself, maybe for the most important parts of our session. So customers can still retain what it is that we're sharing with them. Now we're even seeing that even my customers are sharing their firsthand experiences with these client sites within the company. So sharing that information with their colleagues, with people who are maybe in higher levels of management, just to help communicate the value that we can bring to them. But I just think at the end of the day, it's so easy to use, even from a customer experience perspective, where the sharing is very simple, but on the back end of it, I know we're talking about insights and things. I like looking at the data of how
Yeah.
my customers are engaging with the content that I'm sharing. Just knowing what it is that they're reviewing or what they're not reviewing helps me to pinpoint where their interests are so that I can help them more effectively meet the needs that they have.
No, that's great, Charles. So I'm seeing a number of different use cases here. I'm seeing, Taxi is using it for her deal. So you've got a specific deal with a specific district, and you're creating a district-specific client site. Did I hear that right? And then Charles, I heard you say that you will create a site for an event, and that's kind of more like a one-to-many where you could invite people in and they can experience it, right? And then you're also probably doing the one-to-one to some districts too, right? No, that's pretty great. That's good use. So it's like you've got, targeted, and then you're able to do a little bit of just a broader reach to a bigger group of folks. No, that's pretty amazing. And no, I'm trying to think, Charles, in terms of your experience with it. So you said the insights are interesting to you. So what have you learned from the insights? So when you look at the insights, how has it helped you with your deals and with your relationships?
I like how I can see the time that they're spending on maybe a PDF file or even a video clip, for example, if they've watched it 2 or 3 times or if it's been shared. That's valuable information for me because maybe there are additional stakeholders that I didn't think about who could influence how we're able to progress an opportunity forward. And I want to make sure that the right people are included. So from my perspective, just knowing who's looking at the information that we're sharing, I think is one of the greatest values.
No, it's great. I No, it's great. We're going to get to the demo. I think there's some folks that want to see. There's some questions that are coming in. In terms of prospecting, I know we didn't talk about it. I think there is a question coming in from the chat. I think the events would be considered prospecting, right, Charles?
Absolutely.
Or you want to talk about maybe talk about it specifically, like how are you using the sites at an event to prospect?
Well, I would use it at prior to an event, like for a client dinner, for example. If I know I have an event coming up, I typically, because I've been in my territory since 2018, I
Yeah.
know for the most part who's going to be there, who the primary stakeholders or influencers are. So I'm able to get that information about the event out to everybody. It just allows a more it is a one-to-many, but it
Yeah.
gives me an opportunity to also stay personalized with the responses back to people who want to reserve a spot, for example, to come to a dinner or to confirm that they're going to be able to attend a workshop.
It's great. And it's engagement, right? If they engage, boom, you've got some good data. If they don't engage, well, now it's data. It's no data is still data, right? Okay, I have one last question for both Caxi and for Charles, and then Nate, you're ready to go with the demo?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So the question, how did you do it before client sites? What was your life like before client sites?
Charles. So I will say I'm a type A person. I'm organized. I can keep track of it and keep track of what I'm sending and how many times and what email it came from. But to be honest, it's also on their side, right? It's the other side of that coin. It was something that we would have to resend something to, or yes, I've communicated this and here's another one. And you could just tell there was a slightly more disorganized nature about that. I would keep it straight. I would keep everything going. I would use lots of Excel, lots of extra things. But at the end of the day, that back and forth and that possible disorganization was definitely, there was a component there.
Yeah.
Client sites really streamlined that up. And as they used more and more, like as a prospect would use more client site more and more, they knew where something was going. They knew where they could find it. If they asked for it, I would say, yes, I have updated your site. I didn't even have to say that because they were going to get an email about it anyway. And they knew that's where it was there. So it just helped tighten up that process and made it more usability. But yeah, I will admit it was a lot of email, a lot of back and forth.
A lot of back and forth email. All right, Charles, how about you? What was your life like before?
Ditto to that. Sending a ton of files on email is not effective, not time efficient.
No insights.
Correct. And you're just left in this, it's almost like you're sending information out to a black hole and you don't know if your customers value what you're sending or if they're not looking at it. And there's so many unknowns with doing it outside of what we have now. I'm very grateful that we have the
Yeah.
tool. And I know before it was just so many different steps. And from a sales perspective, it took away from the engagement because of there was just it was very cumbersome to have to try to pull things together. Now, the way I see it, everything is in one place, and it's very easy to share, whether it be from the content library that Tracy and Michelle have made available for us, or if it's information I need to pull directly from right from my machine. It's very easy to upload and get things out.
Thank you, both of you, for sharing kind of what modern selling looks like and how you've embraced it in your sales motions personally. It's been really helpful for all of us here. The comments are great, but to see it is to believe it. And I think, are we ready, Nate? Is everyone?
Absolutely.
So listen, everyone, Nate's gonna do a demo, and we're not gonna show the frontline system because it's confidential, and so we're gonna show a generic demo, and Nate's gonna walk us through it. And I just want to invite the frontline team to, feel free to add commentary as Nate. He can handle it as Nate does his demo. If there's something that you love or you like or you want to add a comment, and he'll leave space for that as well. So please, Nate, take us away and show us client sites, please.
Absolutely. Caxi and Charles, you guys did such an incredible job describing client sites and the experience reps have and the outcomes that client sites bring to your customers that this demo is going to be easy because I just have to show the visuals, but at the same time intimidating because you guys obviously know them inside and out and know exactly what your the impacts that your customers are seeing. So I'm not going to spend much time on this screen, but for anybody who's familiar with client sites, I've got a couple fun call outs today. We've got some new product releases coming. Number one is this module on the top right. So this is going to be available in Pages, but when I log in as a rep, I get a call out. These are my top client sites. And these are the ones that the customers are engaging with the most. I can see the engagement. I can see the pipeline it's affecting. I'm going to hop into this NVIDIA client site, and we're going to talk through this one today. The content is going to be sorted by the admins, and they're going to be pulling the content from wherever it lives. So if it's in Box, Google Drive, SharePoint, Dropbox, they're bringing it in. And I, as a rep, can only share content that is approved for me to be externally shared. So governance is huge. It's going to be very safe. And then this is a fully built site. I already have my different folders at the top. I have my content on the left that I can scroll through and watch. First thing I do when I'm building a site is I hit my add button and I usually select a content pack. And this is templated, pre-built packs of content that I can go through. And this could be something like a first meeting template or an industry that I'm selling to, or so on and so forth. So I'm going to start with a package of information. So I'm not adding a bunch of things individually, but super easy for me as a rep to add the content from wherever it lives. It's going to be the right content that's customer facing. It's going to be up to date. I'm not going to be sharing the wrong content. The other thing that I always do as a rep on all of my client sites, and I do the same thing Caxi does. If I have an account, I'm starting a client site, and it might just be first a welcome video from me, and then it might just be a quick 2-minute demo or intro of what we're going to be talking about on our first call, and then it grows as the conversation grows.
There's
So
a question. There's a question that came in about, intro videos. Sorry. There's a question that came in about intro videos from sellers. So Nate and Caxi and Charles, like, let's each of you comment on how important is it to have a personal video from you on one of your sites?
I'll let Caxi go first.
Yeah, it creates realism. So it creates a personal touch beyond just the different conversations that are happening throughout your sales process. They know who you are, especially before a first meeting. Then they even have like a soft introduction to your face and how you speak and how you talk. Those things are vital as far as like building relationships and building rapport with a client. So it's just a way to engage with them in a manner before you even have a first meeting.
Love it.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I think even after an event, I mean, it's powerful just as another way to express gratitude to your customers. So maybe not so much a hard sales kind of communication, but just something to let them know that your customer, you appreciate your customers. And that's a big thing I know that I'm constantly working to communicate to everybody.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. So for me, it is the ability to give a personal touch, and it's also my guide to the customer, right? So I'm guiding them through the information. First of all, hey, here's what I understood from the situation. Here's what you need to solve. I'm excited how we're going to help you solve it. Here's the content that's relevant to you. And I usually walk them through the client site. And a couple of my big call outs are, here are the different pieces of information across the top, and then they can chat with me down at the bottom right. If they have a question on the content, just open up the chat. You can talk with me right here, and that'll go to my email. I respond on my cell phone. So it's an ongoing conversation. And then if they ever need to book time with me, they can just highlight over my information up at the top, and they can get my Calendly book a meeting link. So it's a quick tour of the information. They're not landing on a site that they have to figure out how to navigate. They get my ugly mug right in the beginning there, and I'm walking them through the content.
You're a good-looking guy, Nate. Come on.
It depends on the day. And then, of course, as Caxi said, it's a personal touch, which is crucial in the world of email, right? Being able to have a personal connection to somebody is always a big pillar of a conversation for a salesperson. You have to relate to people. So I'm going to move on after I've recorded my welcome message. I have the content in here. I'm ready to share it with my client. I can do that super easily via my share button up top. And I can send the customer an email directly from the platform, or multiple customers. I can put in multiple emails here. I can write them a message. And this is a new fun feature that we rolled out on client sites, is I can spotlight one of the pieces of content. And what that does is that adds a animated GIF or GIF, depending on which field you subscribe to there, of the content that the person is receiving. So they're seeing like, oh, hey, this is, if I spotlight my welcome video, they're like, oh, there's Nate's face and he's waving. So they'll click on that. There's other video sharing things that have been trying to do that for a long time. So they get this welcoming email in a nice template, and they can see the content that I'm sharing. And then once they're in the platform, that's where the magic starts happening for us salespeople. This is where I start getting a notification. I get it two different ways. I get it in my Slack, and I also get it in my email. Hey, somebody's just come in and they're viewing your content. And then I would click on the link and I pop over to Insights. And this is exactly what Caxi and Charles were talking about. Being able to see who's spending time on your content, how much time are they spending on your content, what's important to them. This is where I can go into my next conversation with this person. Hey, we didn't really talk about this video that I put in, but you spent a lot of time on it. Why was that interesting to you? And now I'm uncovering new pains and I'm expanding my deals. And then they're sharing this. I've shared this with my prospect. Typically, in the medic or medpic world, I'm talking to a champion who's going to be talking to the economic buyer and the decision maker, and they're going to be sharing this with those people. So then once they start sharing this client site with those people, and they're saying, hey, I'm talking to Nate over at SalesHood, and this is what we're talking about, now I get to start mapping my buyer family. And I can pop in my chat again and I'll reach out to them. Hey, thanks for checking out the client site. I see you're spending time on this. If you have 5 minutes, I'd love to get your feedback. Here's my cell phone number. And now I've got another personal connection just through going through this client site, something that's impossible if I send somebody to a generic website or share via an email. And then the other piece there is the client site lives with the customer, right? I don't own this client site, because after the customer is in here, we've put in content, we've put in demos. As they're starting to move through the process, I'm going to do a mutual action plan with these guys. And this is a new feature that's coming out very soon. So our customers are going to be able to access this. But this is their mutual action plan. Okay, you guys need to solve this problem. This is the compelling date you need to sell it by or solve it by. These are the steps it's going to take to get there. So we're going to collaborate on these. We're going to go through here. And then after this kickoff, this isn't where it ends. This is where I hand it off to our CS team. I go into my settings section. I go into team selling. And now I'm bringing in our CS team. I'm bringing in an account manager. I'm bringing in other people from my team. And now they're running this site in collaboration with that relationship with our customer. And the content, as Caxi and Charles has said, some of it's coming out. They don't need demo videos anymore, but instead, we've got our contracts in here. We've got our launch timeline in here. We've got QBR information in here, things that are going to be much deeper than just, oh, I sent a slide deck in the middle of a sales process. The Salesforce integration is phenomenal for me as a rep, because if I go into Salesforce right at an opportunity level, so here I am in an opportunity for NVIDIA, just that client site that we were just in, and I have SalesHood's guided selling right here in Salesforce, and I have two columns. I have my internal facing content that I want to digest before my next meeting, and I have the external content that I might want to share with my prospect. And right here, we've got that first meeting template, right? Or a competitive sales play, or whatever templates that Nichelle and Tracy have built out for their sales team. I'm going to stick to the content that they say, this is statistically impactful and it's going to help you close the business. I want that content as a rep. So that's the content I'm going to use. And as we move through the sales cycle and we're updating the stage or the product or the industry that I'm selling to, this content updates as well. So all of this is tagged. And as Caxi had mentioned earlier, I didn't show it yet. The AI in here is going to write descriptions and help you tag up all of your information too. So making sure that we're getting that right content to the right reps based on who they're talking to. Good question.
Right. And then the other piece of the Salesforce and the Slack, so the activities. So whenever a prospect and a site is engaging with the site, that shows up as an activity in the timeline. And then you also get notifications in Slack. So this is a question for someone in the chat. There's multiple places where we are doing integrations, and then the other integration back is we're doing the correlation analysis inside of our client sites dashboard too. So you've got a number of places. We're deeply integrated with Salesforce, specifically on the client sites, which is pretty amazing. I think that was a lot of the demo. That was pretty good. Give you a round of applause, Nate.
Thank you. It's tough following Caxi and Charles. Wow,
I know.
they teed it up.
The only thing we didn't talk about was the Zoom integration, which is, can you just click back on the site for a sec?
Yeah.
And you just click on add. So this is also relatively new within the last 6 months. So basically you can sync your Zooms from your Zoom into the client site, and then it'll auto transcribe the call, it'll auto write the follow-up email, and then it becomes a central place. Well, we've seen statistically where people spend the most time is the buyers. They spend the time coming back, listening to specific calls, looking at specific questions they ask, and sharing those questions with people. So the Zoom integrations become very powerful in a great way, and amazing. Woo! We covered a lot of ground here, folks.
We did. We moved fast.
I'm really grateful that you were able to show the site and to walk people through it. I'm going to ask Caxi and Charles a question. Was there anything that he didn't show that you guys love that you use every day?
I was about to say the Zoom. Make sure the
Zoom, right?
That piece, as anyone or a client who doesn't maybe not be able to make the meeting, or someone, I had someone admit one time they weren't really paying attention. They had a lot going on. They can always go back and refer to it. And it's just such a nice place, or forward it to a higher up or someone else on their team. It's such a nice way to put everything that's been talked about in one place.
So great. Charles, anything to add?
Yeah, I think on the front end, there was a question about using the tool for prospecting efforts. When you're doing one-to-many communication, the privacy settings that are in there are powerful, because you can actually tell who's opening up and looking at, for example, an invitation that I send out through a client site that I develop. And I know when they're looking at it, I know how long they're spending even just reviewing a flyer. But I think that having the ability to tie it back to the individual, we never had that before. And that's something that's really powerful in the system.
Beautiful. Thank you. We're going to wind this down in a bit. I think wanted Tracy and Nichelle to talk about implementation best practices, right? Because we're so fortunate, we've got the right team, we've got the right content, we've got, the best platform out there. And, I can say that humbly. And so Tracy, what are some, how would you guide people as they're thinking about implementation? What are some of your implementation best practices?
Yeah, so I would say seller involvement early. As you clearly saw, we have some rock star sellers in our organization. So we did a small pilot group with sellers and got them using client sites. And then when we were ready to launch, we actually had them present. So Charles was part of that pilot group. And when we launched it to the larger team, Charles actually presented and shared how he built some sites, what they looked like, his experience with it. And that enthusiasm and excitement around it coming from their peer just had such a positive impact when we were ready to launch. And then we followed up with a series, like a virtual series of more of the logistics, like how to build them, privacy settings, like all the other how-to stuff, the more technical stuff. But we really started with that why, and we had our sellers lead that message. The other thing I would say, we touched upon a little bit, the content, those templates, having them pre-built and ready, but the team also has flexibility, right? So I think I had to remind Nichelle and I quite a bit, like progress over perfection. Like we can't labor over getting these templates perfect because they have the flexibility to adjust them. So we publish them, get them out there, get the feedback, and then continue to update. And we're still doing that. We still need to update them every once in a while, make some adjustments, and create new ones for new scenarios and new requests that we get from the team. So don't overthink it and not put something out there. Put those templates out there and get the feedback, because the team can adjust. They know what their clients need, and they can make those adjustments and then give you that feedback.
Nichelle, how about you from a marketing perspective? What are some implementation best practices that you want to share?
Yeah, this is going rogue here. I just want to really super agree with Tracy and what she just shared, that getting it out there, and it's not gonna be perfect until sales engages with it and helps us to up level whatever we're offering and supporting them with. So that was like so important for us to remind each other of that throughout the process. And then
until people start using the templates, you don't really know.
We can take our best guess. But truly it has to evolve over time. And maybe it's right today and then it needs to change 3 months from now. So, and being comfortable with that is just super important. Something, Tracy shared a lot of really great implementation best practices. And I think where I might dig in a little bit more is under the umbrella of support. And I think about that in 2 different ways from FrontLine's experience with the Sales Hood buying and implementation and adoption process. So first and foremost, we had Tracy and I in the early days of these conversations, we had full executive support. Like our executive team, which is just a bunch of really great folks who have amazing experience, our CMO and our CRO were invited to the table early, and their response was, we fully trust you to go and find the right technology and get it implemented in the right way to support our team. They had just full support, and if we needed them, they would have been there in a heartbeat. And it gave us confidence in exploring the conversation because we had their unwavering support throughout the process. So that was key. I think we didn't get to a buying decision and then have one of the powers that be, come back and say, nope, sorry, we don't trust your decision and we're going to go find something else. So that was having the right people invited and having confidence across our, really the buying team at the end of the day was key to getting this thing decided and moving and implemented successfully. And the other piece is, I would be really remiss if I didn't mention Sales Hood's support and client success team. That, key element of our success were the people at Sales Hood. The technology, like you said, Eli, like best in the business technology. Let's take that and put it over here. The people made a huge difference for us. Unparalleled to any other. And I've been through implementations in a former life. I was an implementation manager for technology and truly have never experienced such thoughtfulness and care from every step of the process. Like Nate, I think, as maybe some of you have picked up on, he was our sales guy, but truly a guide in our process, linked arm in arm to make sure that they were the right technology, that they could solve our problems and pains and help put us in a good situation to thrive. And then our implementation and then ongoing client support team, like Justin is our CSM, and we meet with him and talk to him regularly. He answers our questions. He helps us with enablement of our own team. I mean, truly, yes, as it is in the chat, truly a dream team and a great experience. And that is best practice, like work with your vendor to be successful in the implementation. I think that's what I'll share.
Thank you for that. It's heartwarming. Thank you. We care, we try. I think we're coming. I do want to thank all of you very much. Right. I think you've all shared so much. You've shared your time, you've shared your experience, you shared your insights. Truly a remarkable session. Really, really, really is. Can't wait to get the replay out there. One last question. Frontline is on, you're way ahead of the curve. I don't know if you know this, like only 9% of salespeople out there are actually using client sites, digital sales rooms technology. So like there's huge opportunity for companies to kind of lean into this. And this is why, sales is excited about this opportunity. We want to help every seller embrace digital selling, just like Frontline is. So, I'm curious, to all those companies that haven't yet leaned into digital selling, digital sales rooms and client sites, what advice would you give them? And I want to hear from the Frontline team. What's that tip?
I can jump in and go first. I would say not only can it help your sellers be more efficient and productive, but I think John put a comment in there about just how professional it makes them look in the communication and helps them stand out from their own competition. And then also consider the experience for your customers and making it easier for them.
That's great, Tracy. Who wants to go next?
I'll jump in. I mean, I think we're living in a different world today, and how we're doing business now is not the same way we were doing it even just 5 years ago. So not being afraid to reinvent, right, in order to differentiate ourselves, it's just an ongoing effort. I think Saleshood and the client sites, this whole new process that we have now, it aligns very much with our culture as a company, but also our brand. So when you're thinking about putting something new into an organization, leverage your early adopters, have them help to communicate that message to the rest of your team. And I think that'll help drive the value of what the new system can do to help grow your organization.
Great insight, great input, great tip. We are living in a new era of selling. Caxi, you want to go next?
Yeah. So I would say just because of the clients that we serve and who we serve, to understand them better is a reason alone, just to understand what they're going through, what they need, how a lot of them, what they're going through in K-12 right now. It's just to understand them better and to help them, guide them through that whole entire process is a reason in itself. And it helped me to really jump in and learn them.
So great. Nichelle, bring us home.
All right, my friends. I think there was a world wherein selling at scale meant you couldn't personalize. And with digital sales rooms, from starting up at the top of the funnel with marketing, through sales, through to customer success, that's not the case anymore. And if you're not considering digital selling, digital sales rooms, client sites, whatever you call them, you're doing your customers a disservice in walking them through that laborious process in a disconnected, fractured way. So sales rooms, digital sales rooms can help to solve that and sell and support your customers at scale.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Listen, so grateful. If anyone does want a trial of digital sales rooms, please, there's a link down below. And we are so grateful for this amazing crew from Frontline Education. And thank you, Nichelle. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Caxi. And thank you, Nate, for the demo. Just give yourselves a round of applause. That was incredible. And thank you.